We understood that hard skills in the construction industry, in the solar industry, that's where it gets all the limelight. That's where also you get all the critics. With a bad install, that's what defines your reputation. So we broke down the importance of hard skills. We understood the balance you have to have between your office and the field so that you can have a great reputation within the industry. Part 2, we're going to start jumping into soft skills, project management essentials, so you guys can be successful in your trade, in your field. But as a start off, I want to introduce myself. My name is Will. I'm with Energize Us Edu. We are a non-for-profit trade school. And what we're doing is empowering generations towards the skilled trades. And we're doing that through 3 steps, through media, education, and professional development. And what we're trying to do is stir up interest for the next generation coming in so they can see what the trades have to offer. But secondly, we have to work on self-development. We have to work on the current generation so we can not only attract the next generation, but at the same time retain them. Because we don't want to become a revolving door within this industry. Just like what we see some things in the field, we want to make sure our reputation is clean, that we can improve, so that we can keep growing the solar industry as well as just the construction industry as a whole. And that is handled by self-development. So if we focus on media, education, and professional development, we can now uplift the current generation to attract the next generation towards the skilled trades. And as an electrical contractor myself, I'm based in Connecticut. I'm at work in New England. So our office handles contract for 5 states. We're in Connecticut, Massachusetts, upstate New York, New Hampshire, and Maine. And we're the license holder, and we also do the installation and inspections for solar installations in the New England area. And throughout the years, we started breaking down in our own internal systems, what are the most common fails? What are the most seen issues within the industry so that we can start tackling it more efficiently? And that's where I came up with basically our 3 pillars: hard skills, soft skills, self-development. As a recap, in the morning, we took a dive into hard skills. We talked about how can we have a successful installation so we can have a 1 pass rate. But at the same time, we understood that that is all reflected on hard skills. So what do we have to do in hard skills? Throughout the industry, we recognized that there were 3 major fails when it comes to a regular system. And what differentiates this discussion, we're going to have it in a masterclass sort of. So whatever feedback you give us, whatever you see in the field, we put it to it, and we're going to see if these values align with yours. And you're going to see the same order of operation, the same processes, that when an issue arises, we can break it down together, either a hard skill issue, a soft skill, or a leadership issue. But when we started speaking with some individuals, we had 6 individuals. 2 were contractors, 2 were in manufacturing, and 2 were in distribution. 1 was in utility. And we all saw the manufacturer said, there is nothing wrong with our products. They last 20 to 30 years. Everyone's going to say that, right? What's the issue? Oh, it must have been the person who installed it improperly. Hard skill. Then we have the electrical contractors. We asked them, what line of business do you do? He goes, we do installs. But at the same time, they said, we just created a whole department for services. Why? Because someone installed a system improperly. So it's funny how everybody, no matter what industry you're at, whatever niche you're in, when it comes to solar energy, it falls back on hard skill. The guys who are on the field, there's a lot of choke points within that area, you can say. That is where a lot of the things are being exposed. That's where homeowners are saying, what's going on? This doesn't look safe. They leave a bad review. Or you finish an install, something starts frying up, something starts burning. Homeowners like, what's going on? I don't feel safe no more. Or the next storm passes by, blows all your glass off the roof, or you start seeing water leaks in your home. The homeowner, the end user, is eventually going to start voicing their opinions on the solar industry based off of what they saw happen in the hard skills side of things, because these are the guys on the field. Very rarely do you hear from the office. You hear them when it's time to schedule, when it's time to bill, time to inspection. That's when you hear them. When do you hear from the leader? You usually hear from the leader when something down here messes up and it goes up the chains. So we understand within the industry, within the construction industry, it's a cultural thing. for so many people, when it comes to the industry, we recognize the value of hard work. So many people, when they grow up in the ranks, like we talked to two electricians, and they said, I got into business because I recognized I would do my work, I would do some side work on the weekends, and people would pay for that. There's value to your work. So they jump hard into business, but with the hard skill side of mentality. I need to produce to get paid. But as you grow your business, you got to understand that there's other ways to grow, and there's other things you have to develop so that everything complements each other. But what we're learning with the solar industry, it's starting from over here, going this way. We have sales teams, incentives. We got individuals who are opening up solar companies who aren't licensed electricians. Now that's fine, as long as you know the balance between the two. Because if you talk to anybody in the field, they're gonna be like, what does he know about an install? He's telling me I have a half a day, in reality is a full day's worth of work. They don't understand the intricacies of the on the job. They see data, but they don't know real world application. That's fine if you wanna start a business on this side of things, but you have to understand the delicate balance between the two. And that's where a lot of the bottlenecks and the choke points what we're having within the industry. We have individuals who are starting on, that's fine, they want to produce, but then they fail on their systems, and then they have to rely on who's the leader of the company, who's the leader of this organization, who's going to keep this afloat. Because sadly, what have we been seeing throughout the years? A company does the installation, a company does the commissioning, the company sends out the invoices, they get the leases, but what happens when you come to service, times to service it? They're nowhere to be found. They already closed down shop. That was not a leader. They're not standing on everything that they built up. So we have to understand the balance. If we're going to go in whatever direction, we just have to respect each one. And then this series, today at RE, we're going to break those three down. So we started with the hard skills. We're now on project management essentials, which is soft skills. The last series, the last discussion that we're going to have today is at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk about leadership development. So if you guys find any of these topics of value, we welcome you guys to join us at 3 p.m. But as a highlight, when it came to hard skills, we discussed with each individual what were the three major fails throughout the US when it comes to electrical systems or solar systems. We understood that the solar industry, as much as it's renewable energy, it's determined by the parameters of an electrical system. You need an electrical permit to pull the permit, to pull the job, to start the job, to get utility access. It has to be inspected. So the rules that govern solar, it's the electrical industry. So when we go and review what are the three main fails within the industry, we find it's grounding and bonding, wire management, as well as loose connection or torquing specs. And that's why so many individuals who work in services say these are their number one callbacks. Because wire management, a squirrel, a nest, they end up chewing up the wires, they have to replace it. We got an ISO fault. Or is it loose connections? How many times do we have a loose line side tap connection and we have to replace a disconnect because the feeders from the main panel now fried up because there was an improper connection, as well as grounding and bonding. Not a lot of people understand, and 250, Article 250 in the NEC is one of the most difficult to understand. There's a lot of programs out there. We're not advocating for any specific one, but understanding grounding and bonding, and now using all these hard skills, teaching your workforce so they understand what they have to do. Not just do the work, but understand how it affects the overall system is gonna help them and help you and help the reputation of the solar industry. So that was a recap of hard skills. Now we're jumping into project management, and some individuals were talking about some things that they do to differentiate themselves from their competitors. We have some contractors who say, hey, I want to focus solely on quality rather than quantity. We talked about in the beginning, we have a lot of individuals who are coming into business starting on the soft skill, which is fine. It's fine that they're selling the systems. They have the sales team, they have the operation, they have the data, they have the signatures. But as long as you understood that hard skills is what's going to get the job done, and you understand the balance, not flood the guys with too much work where they can't keep up with the demand, and now quality's suffering because of that. So we have contractors who personally say, I handle 4 jobs. And once again, this doesn't apply to every company because every company is at a different size, different capacity. This company of 2 individuals say, we handle 4 installs a month because we want to make sure that one job is completed from beginning to end, inspection, final, commissioning, QC, everything's properly, because that's whatever they can handle. He goes, we have salesmen calling, I can give you 30 a month. He goes, why am I going to do that? Because I'm going to sacrifice quality. We also know, as the owner of that company, that's not just having systems coming in, but that's a leader. He's dictating the culture he's going to operate his business. And we're going to see why that's important. But then we have other guys who came in and they said, I don't know anything about solar installation or electrical. All I know is I develop QC checkpoints for everything, and I have to trust my team to follow those QCs. That's another soft skill. So we're going to take a deep dive into that section now of things, because those soft skills, even if you don't understand the hard skills, but if you have people for the hard skills and they have systems in place to check that quality of work, we're going to see how you can still have a successful contracting career. You can still be successful if you're a project manager within the solar industry, or you can still be successful if you want to open up in any industry within renewable energy, as long as you understand the balance between all 3. And remember, this is the golden nugget, because just like in the beginning of the industry, so many people came in, opened up shops, started selling, commission, install. But now we're coming back to service these equipment, and the original company is no longer to be found. Why? Because yes, they may have that handled, but they didn't understand this, or vice versa. They're still not around, because now we understand the importance of leadership. We understand what training you need to have, what systems you need to have, what areas are you lacking in, so you can continue to grow, so we can keep cleaning up the reputation of the renewable energy. Because we understand all of this is only as good as the end product to the homeowner. And if there's holes in her roof that she never had holes before, she's going to say something. If something is burning and it was never burning before, they're going to say something to make sure the homeowner has the exact results that they're looking for. We have to make sure each and every one of these things, each one of these pillars are operating efficiently, especially self-development, especially when it comes to leadership. Because guess what? You don't see the leader until down the road, when something happens on an install, or the homeowner has an issue with the office and nothing gets relayed to you. This skill doesn't come out instantly. This skill will dictate the culture of the company, but at the end of the day, these are what the front line, these individuals are on the front line when it comes to the homeowner. So that's why it's such a nice understanding balance that we have to have when it comes to this. So now we're going to jump into project management. We already talked about a bit below what type of installations, what type of work ethic, what type of company culture we're going to develop, or if you're a project manager for another company, or if you're a foreman, or if you're looking to become an inspector in some capacity or services. What are some things? QCs, quality control. We're going to jump into that and process all these things together. So I wanted to start off by asking you guys, where are you guys from? What side of renewable energies are you guys participating in? As well as what are some things that you guys are experiencing with the industry as in culture? Any things you guys want to share so we can start processing them together?
I'll go first. We're a Georgia power company, so we're in Georgia. Work on the utility side, so utility scale solar. We do have some DG solar as well as some community solar as well.
Beautiful.
So, issues you may see, most issues we have are more for inverters. So we have a pretty good QC process with checks, IR checks, torque marks, things of that nature.
Yep.
So we have a process where we'll oversee the EPC to make sure we get a good product. I think I answered most of your questions.
I love that. I love that. So we have project managers. So with our we have utility, and you guys are big on QCs, because There's so many times where I will even do an install myself, and the utility goes, you didn't do it to our specs. So that's a nice dance. I like that.
So the one thing, we normally have a person, so we have QC standards, but we'll have a person we assign to a site inspector or something. So mind you, these are, I don't know, 20, $50 million projects, larger projects. So we got to budget for that person. Nobody on site to supervise the contractor, not tell them what to do, but if stuff's not meeting our specs, we'll make sure it's there. Also, another proactive thing we do is what we call golden roll inspection. So they'll do one row or one part to spec and say, hey, here's how we're going to build the rest of the site. We can give them feedback on that one row, and then here's how we need everything built. And that kind of makes sure they build everything to what this row looks like, and the rest of the site should be built.
What I appreciate about what you mentioned was the proactive steps. Now, granted, devil's advocate, you can say that's utility. That's nice when you got a budget for that. How the mom and pop shops are going to now handle all of that. But the principle still applies. I love that. So I love that proactiveness.
You brought up a good approach, right? They talked about the three main issues. So if you know those are issues, mom and pop wise, it's just kind of, if you're from the self-developed standpoint, you're leading, you just make sure you tell your folks, hey, make sure we're good with the ground, make sure our wire management where it needs to be, put torque marks on stuff. I know you said utility to make it a little more robust, but just make sure your folks do good work, right?
Exactly. But that's difficult when so many people want to focus on quantity, right? When you have another install in the afternoon, you're like, I'm supposed to slap glass, do the whole electrical by the morning, and then go to a second one, and the leader's just like, no, money. You can see how everything falls apart there, but you hit it on the head. That's why I really appreciated that couple. I don't know if there were a couple, but from Florida, Miami-Dade, they're tackling it just like that. They say, hey, we're starting off small, but we're gonna start with the systems first. They said he doesn't have his license, she does, but they understood the balance. So he's like, I'll develop the systems, she develops the code requirements, and that's what they said. So for the last 6 months, all they've been doing is haven't had one fail, only 4 installs, they said, had issues with, but they resolved all of them because they developed their own QCs. I appreciate that, thank you. Anybody else in another sector?
Florida, local EPC, we deal with a lot of commercial, some residential, and then we subcontract for some utility aspects of it. So the things that you kind of mentioned before page, especially with our commercial installs, we do a lot of some work going back after the first install and fixing things that you shouldn't fix the first time. So a lot of those QCs or SOPs in place to kind of keep you from doing it right the first time. Measure twice, cut once. So to speak.
Exactly. So we got, contractor, installer? Yeah. So we got commercial side of things. Contractor. Also, service side, coming back to the fails. Services / fails. And what I appreciate about that, just like what we talked about utility, the focus on QCs, making sure things are in operation.
They come with that whole their own
Exactly.
checklist that you have to,
And as a contractor,
qualify with.
exactly. But as a contractor, our focus is on the hard skill to deliver the product, but we need QCs for our work, they need QCs for their work, for the follow-up. So you see, once we get to soft skills, project management, these essentials apply to everyone. No matter what phase, no matter what position you're coming in. I'm a field guy, that's fine. You still need QCs. Why? Because I need to make sure if like you said, if I'm an installer and I know these are the most common fails, your first QC should be minimum, check these 3 things. Because if the nation is experiencing these issues, let's just cover our butts. Let's make sure these things are covered. If it's something new, awesome, make a new site, make a new SOP for that, make a new QC checklist for that. But that's exactly why QCs and soft skills are so important, because no matter what avenue you're at, you have to develop those, even in leadership. But in leadership, self-development, you're already kicking yourself more before anyone else kicks you. You know what I mean? That's the underlying thing. If you are good, if you work on yourself, if you wake up and you're your own biggest critic, trust me, you have a QC listen. You're like, the way you said that, the way your posture was, you said, You already have those QCs in the back of your head, but that's what helps you want to develop even more. So what you guys broke down, exactly, we have QCs for both sides of the field. And guess what? If you're a contractor and you catch those QCs, does he have a problem with you? No.
A lot of times we build our QCs off their QCs.
There you go. But once again, that determines a balance because you don't know what they're thinking. That's soft skills, communication with both industries, true or not. Same with the inspector. If you follow your QCs to the state code, to the fire code, then you don't have a problem with the inspector. So once again, we see the same thread. Whatever industry, whatever niche, whatever aspect we're coming into when it comes to if you handle this in the order of operation, everything's going to run smoothly on a perfect day, of course. You know what I mean? Now, do you have a guy who comes in who's a new inspector in town who needs some? Okay, you know what I mean? We understand. We're talking about in general, though. So that's awesome. Thank you.
I actually work with Powell. I work together with Powell. I work in the automotive industry. I work in turbine generator field service before I came to Southern Company. And that third bullet, the boost connections, that's whether it's automobile manufacturing, whether it's turbine generator service, field service, and the electrical world that we deal with now. That's always a concern.
Yep.
No matter what happens.
Exactly. Yeah, I was very much impressed. I spoke to somebody, Jeffrey. He's going to actually be presenting tomorrow. He's also a trainer for the Carpenters Union. And he goes, that's crazy. And he's in Las Vegas, and he's talking about how carpenters now have to have a spec sheet of their torque ratings for all their lags, or if they're building a structure, all that, for Las Vegas. So you're seeing how torquing is especially mechanics. Automotive, yep, exactly, the paint and everything, so you make sure no one goes in there. You know, some of the times when I first started, I had to be a little slick. You know, I'm like, torqued. You know, I just threw a little Sharpie on. We all been there. So we've been there. But now, when someone's house is on the line now, it's like a little more, you know, you got to take that stuff into account. But I appreciate each one of you. So we got utility, QC, we got Georgia. So that's awesome that you guys are here. And then you mentioned Florida, you're here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Florida. So we have East Coast basically covered, the Southeast, and you guys, 2 different states, 2 different, same industry, 2 different niches, you can say, 2 different professions, and yet you guys are seeing the value of soft skills. But at the same time, understanding the importance of doing the job, the hard skill, right, the first time. So that's what we're going to be processing today, and I just wanted to go over a few notes. A lot of the times when it comes to the soft skill, when it comes to contractors especially, when we come into the industry or we come into opening up shop, we mentioned before, we recognize the hard skill side of things. There's a monetary value for that. So we just want to work. The money's coming. There's times where, when I first started, I learned from my experience where I was always busy. And I always liked that because I knew money was eventually coming. But without the soft skills, I never sent the invoice. Without the soft skill, I never told someone, hey, you have to follow up on your invoice. Hey, payroll, all these different things. So I'm working, I'm busy, but I'm like, why am I having issues with this? Why is my card not working? Why am I having what's going on? Because you're neglecting the other side of the thing. So as an industry, and we already learned, even though we come into the solar industry, we're here for renewable energy, we're still governed by our parameters that our industry is allowing. Even before we can do an installation, we still need that electrical permit to begin work. We need to get the electrical permit for the utility approval, for the net metering or whatever system that we're doing. So if we are governed by the solar industry, so we in the solar industry, right? Yet we have to use utility. We have to use our municipalities or states, right? Muni or state to approve our permit, and each one of them are saying you need an electrician. licensed, right? We now know who's governing our installs. Our parameters in which we operate are within the electrical code, within the electrical industry, within the electrical construction culture. So, just like we talked about hard skills, with the soft skills, we got to understand, for a lot of people coming into renewable energies, this is not our bread and butter. We have to understand the value of soft skills when it comes to this industry, into this step when it comes to solar. So, with electrical licenses, we understand there's a process. You can't just say, I sold a job, right? You can't do that. Every state, every municipality has different regulations. Some require a sales license to even sell a system. But then you go through the system of, I need a permit. You go to the state, you go to the town, say, I want an electrical permit. They're like, awesome, what's your utility number? Dang, I go to the utility now. Hey, can I get a utility work request number? Sure, what's your license number? Shoot, I need a license now. You don't have a license guy. All right, let's say you now find somebody to give you your license number. We're not going to go down that road, but you understand the whole game. Then you have that guy. Then you say, okay, now I need you to do the install. Do the install. Then you got to go back to the inspection. So there's so many other variables than when it comes to just selling solar. And each one of those phases has their own QCs, because we already saw the town's going to say, awesome, utility number. They're going off that inspection report based off of their QCs, the town. Then you have the utilities saying, cool, we'll give you a utility number, but give us the license number. Give us your engineer prints. So now you have the utility telling you their parameters, and then that goes on to an engineer to give you the load calculation and everything. Then you need the license contractor over here to tell you his work capacity, his standard. So you dictate, are we going to do one job a week? Are we going to do 2 a week? What's your workforce looking like? So then the electrician has his workforce, his QCs that he has to follow through on, and then so on and so on. And then we learned how the successful ones own, operate, and run their businesses is through that communication channel. You said, what? Our QCs are based off what my utility company needs. That means there's a relationship between here. That shows how valuable you are, because you understand that balance. You have your own QC within your own departments, within their own utilities, and then you have that dance with the town. Hey, if this passed inspection, we're trusting you, here's the release, here's the COC. So we see the big organizations, when it comes to town, state, municipality, contractors, the ones who are actually staying in business, are all working on communication. All of that falls under soft skills. But remember, that's awesome. That helps so many people when it comes to that soft skill. It takes time to develop that, especially if you come from the hard skill science. What does the construction culture tell you to do? Put your head down, get her done, right? Just work. They don't tell you, send that invoice, get the utility request, do the follow-up, do the QC. It doesn't tell you that, it doesn't teach you that. And that's why I've been telling a lot of people, as much as I love the construction culture, as much as I love the industry, it gave me a life that I never knew was possible, the construction culture sets you up for failure. Sets you up to put your head down and just work. They don't tell you there's a whole nother side of things that you have to work on, to the point where I grew my company to a capacity that I never knew that was possible. And one of my viral videos that I put on YouTube was, even though I grew my company to XYZ, I should have stayed an apprentice, because I learned everything to run a successful company was all being taught in my apprenticeship. In the sense where, one example was when I was drilling in with a contract, my journeyman was drilling into a wood block. And he would always drill, get the plastic anchor, hammer it in, mount something on the wall. To the point where the first day this dude smiled at me was when he was drilling it in, I got on the plastic anchor before he asked for it. And then he's like, you're catching on. And that look, I was like, oh, I need to facilitate him. I need to help, I need to compliment him. Awesome. So I would write on a piece of paper, when he's drilling, get some anchors, then get the screw. So little did I know, I was making a materialist for myself, but in reality, it was actually making a QC for him. Me as an owner and operator now, I'm just getting the material for my guys. I'm getting them laid out on the job site. And then I have to recognize, okay, do they have enough material? Because true or not, the most expensive thing is your guys on site with nothing to do. It's like a taxi stand. You know when you're and you see the meter running? It's like that. Like, I'll be home and I'll be like, something feels weird. Hey guys, what's up? The material never showed up. Why are you telling me now? You know, why did no one talk to me? Because that thing, it's just in the back of your mind. You see it running. But once again, if I had systems in place and when I first started, I would have had, hey, my office manager is gonna go check up on you guys. Hey, do you have everything? When the material gets to 50, make a new order so we're not at 0 and now we have to depend on all these things you learn during your apprenticeship. So even though I grew my company to the position it is now, everything I'm doing was level 1 apprenticeship. But once again, the construction culture doesn't tell you, hey guys, pay attention to level 1 because XYZ. Because if you decide to be a business owner, this is gonna help you with XYZ. It tells you, put your head down and get your hours. Put your head down, go get that money. If overtime comes, they make you focus on the wrong thing. When you're in the same environment, if you can, I'm telling these kids right now, if you guys truly pay attention to what you're gonna be doing in that first year apprentice, you're actually setting yourself up to become a successful contractor. Because you're learning takeoffs, you're learning material orders, you're learning, because guess what? The journeyman never wanted to call the office. He always sent the helper, yo, call the boss, say we need this. He never wanted to give him the bad news. He always give you that piece of cardboard and say, hey, this is what we need, go get it in the morning. Because you're coming from the get it done mentality on how to do it, or you're trying to think on the system side of things. Because we understand a lot of people when they come into solar or contracting in itself, we have the contractor who has been in the trade who said, oh man, I can make some money off of this and just go work. We have the other side in the solar industry, the culture, where it's a lot of guys who've been in the field, they're project managers, they're operation directors, and they're like, I can make my own business. So they come into business, but they want to do the system side of things. You know, they're like, I want a schedule, I want this, but they don't have the work knowledge. So what aspect of that are you coming in?
So I come from the wind side, so we have some large-scale utility wind projects.
Beautiful.
Looking to get into the solar side.
Yeah, so that's primarily the development, the construction side of things. That's awesome. It's going to be fun. So this topic where we're going over soft skills is exactly giving you the cheat code of what you're going to be expecting in the first year. Because especially with solar, with electrical, for the most part, when it comes to service, you're dealing with the homeowner. It's one-on-one. With solar now, you get that mix. You got the town, you got permitting, you got inspections, you got communication with everybody in between. So this is exactly going to help you when it understands the importance of having those soft skills. We talked earlier with North New Jersey, recycling, right? And what aspect of recycling are you guys working with? Is it coming to like...
What interested me about your organization is that the skill sets that you're teaching your guys in the field can also apply to us when we have an opportunity to do a site decommissioning or something like that.
Exactly. I love that. Thank you for that. So we have also recycling. And sadly, a lot of the decommissioning and recycling is happening because of the improper installation. The homeowner's fed up, their roof is leaking, that disconnect blew up 3 times already, and they said, forget it, I don't want it no more, get it off my house. So we can see how, once again, even soft skills is getting affected by the hard skill because the lack of training or the type of installation that they're doing. How about you, brother? Utility too?
Yeah, but I'm on the operations and maintenance side.
Okay, so what do you do in operation side of things?
I'm a project manager, so I work on strategy. I work on PMs, preventive maintenance. I work on manpower training,
Yep.
engineering support, capital, all that.
So what's awesome is like you're smack in the middle of everything that we're talking about because you're.
They're building, they get ready.
That's what I'm saying. You guys mainly in the office, right?
Well, we'll go out in the field, so we got folks that support, but like we'll go out certain checkpoints as well. So like I mentioned that Golden Road inspection.
Yep.
Say you're doing a lot of roads, right? I'll go out, we'll inspect that, or
Awesome.
certain points of the construction, we go out just to make sure.
For like the checkpoint side of things. He's there during the operation side of things. So boom, boom, and if something happens, he goes, oh, battery died. So if something happens, then he goes back to you guys, and then that communication keeps going back and forth, then goes back to the field, correct? Awesome. So we got utility, and then utilities broken into PM, and then you have QC side of things, and then you guys have that intricate dance between each other, where if there's anything that got to get tweaked up or edited, you guys go right back. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, nice, thank you. So that's awesome that you guys have that distinction between your team. What I love about this part, okay, no worries. So what I love about this part, especially when it comes to soft skills, it's almost upsetting to say the key to success with soft skills. Do you guys happen to know what it is? It's very simple. The success, what? Yeah. How is soft skills successful? It's one thing, one trait that you have to have, or one, it's all communication. It's the easiest yet the hardest thing. True or not, when you go to do an install, you have crews working, something bad happens at a customer's home, or you can't show up, the crew's late, let's say you hurt, like blow a hole in the wall. As long as you communicate that with the homeowner, they're pissed. They won't write a review. If you show up late and you let them know, I'm pissed, I took off work, but okay. No call, no show. You don't tell them about how you busted the ceiling and you say, oh no, that was always there. That's where the problems happen, true or not. It all comes down to one thing, communication. And then documenting that communication when the actions need to be taken. Just like with you two. When something happens on the field, hey, we got to restructure, communication, now implement that. And guess what? We have QCs to now tell us, hey, if this happens, do this. Exactly, the follow through. And then you have the QCs to back it up. But then what happens if something brand new happens? Never been done before. You ever, once again, we go back to, I'm telling you, I love, lately I've been making YouTube videos on, I'm just poking at the construction culture. And my number one video that went crazy was, you ever heard the guy saying, I've been doing this for 30 years? I was like, don't listen to that guy. That was the number one. Got me in trouble, I'm telling you. But the second one was also, when something happens, you ever hire somebody, a contractor, especially framers, if you say, hey, I need to get this done, they always go, in 30 years of contract, I never seen this before in my life. You ever hear those guys say those things? But here's the thing, they say that and they leave it as an opportunity for a problem. If you have soft skills, if you're successful in soft skills, if you're a true successful contractor, project manager, when something never before has ever happened, what do you do, guys? How do you approach it? Make a QC for that. If it's never happened before, you know, no one, at the end of the day, no one's gonna get in trouble. If it genuinely is, but it's also an opportunity to learn. Cool, Bigfoot came on and slapped the panels off the room. Cool, let's start anchoring these things down Bigfoot proof. Make a QC for that. If Bigfoot was to come to your house and slap the panel, it's torqued to 10,000 pressure per. That's the beautiful thing about project management, soft skills, communication, and QCs. You can have QCs for the QCs. There's QCs for the SOPs. My last step in my QC is double check. So you can send yourself right back to the beginning and make sure that you double checked on every single aspect of it. That's the beautiful thing about soft skills. And it's so sad that it comes down to communication when that's the easiest thing. That's the thing that we've been doing longer. You've been talking longer than you've been in the field. You've been talking longer than you've been installing solar panels. We have to use those skills to our advantage. And it's something so small that will make a tremendous difference when it comes to on the field. So when we start breaking down and we start showing you the 3 pillars to a successful industry, successful contracting company, to have success in the renewable energy, we broke it down to 3 pillars. Hard skills, soft skills, self-development. And self-development we're going to be talking about at 3 o'clock. Today, we focused on hard skills in the morning at 10 o'clock. Now we're talking about soft skills. Remember, a lot of people, when it comes to contracting, we came up in the ranks, we went through the apprenticeship, we went through our training, we came up through the ropes, and we said, wow, people are asking me, hey, do you do work on the side? We start recognizing real quick, oh, our work, our labor has value. So there's a lot of individuals who are in the field who decide to create their own business because they see how much valuable their services are. So this guy in the field goes, I want a business. Boop, he creates his own business. That's fine. But what happens? We run into the roadblocks of soft skills, especially in the solar industry. These guys don't know how to project manage. These guys are now looking at the money coming in. They're not looking on structuring. They're not looking on QCs. And then the person running that company doesn't self-develop. He's not a leader. Because what are we seeing now when we come back to fix work? Like over here, we talked about the 3 most common fails within the industry: grounding and bonding, wire management, loose connections. So now we come to the field to fix these issues, and we say, why'd you call us? Your system's still under warranty. Oh, the business is, the contractor who did the install is out of business because he didn't have systems, or he wasn't a leader where he took accountability for the work that they did. Let's say you're a project manager, you work for these solar companies, you're a director of operations, and you understand project managing, you understand communication. You too can start a solar company as long as you understand what's needed to be done in the field. If you don't know how to mount glass, you want a qualified team who does. You want a licensed team who does. Especially when you have to reach out to your utility company, they're gonna say, who's your licensed guy? Where's your electrical permit? You have to understand, these 2 skills go hand in hand by communicating. But this can have the same outreach as over here. There's many individuals who come into solar, have the systems, have the connections even, because they come to all these events from their company. They decide they want their own company. They have contractors that they know who can do the hard skills, awesome, but they themselves don't have leadership qualities. They themselves don't know what pressure is because they have the comfort of their job backing them up. But when they're on their own and that customer calls now and the systems are working, now you're getting all that pressure. They don't know how to handle it. They close down, and what do we see? Once again, the 3 most common fails, but the homeowner says, hey, I need somebody to fix my system because the original contractor is no longer in business. We have the same outcome for the same reasons, and then we break it down to they either come in with a hard skill mindset or they come in with a soft skill mindset, but both of them are lacking leadership development. That's what we're gonna process at 3 o'clock today. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys participating for today. If you guys have any questions, concerns, wanna challenge it, feel free. All of this is learning opportunity, so I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you.